Hey, this is Metal Mike, and welcome to the new Metal for Life column. This month's column, it's called Drop It, and we are talking about drop D tuning. Basically, your bottom 6th string is going to be down a whole step to D, and we are going to explore different heavy metal guitar styles using this tuning. Different players like Eddie Van Halen, Jerry Cantrell, or bands like King's X have used it to much success. So check this out. Okay, so let me teach this example to you guys. This example is in D minor or D Aeolian, and it's run off of the bass of the riff is basically a melody on a low string, which is a D note now, and you have alternating different notes on a 5th string, which is A, with some chords towards the end. There's a cool thing I do towards the end for a specific type of sound that I'm also going to show it to you guys. All right? So let me show this to you. Remember that this whole entire example is in the 16th note feel. So it's a very constant do 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 do, right? So as you play this example, you want to hear some sort of like a constant groove type, right? And then you will work out your picking patterns to make this example come alive and be pretty cool. All right, so let me show you how this goes slowly. Again, each little part starts on the bottom string, and this is the first example. Right? So you have sort of like, and this is the coolest thing about a lick like that, is that when you tune your guitar to D, your intervals or spaces between notes open up now. So what we sound a little more clustered, a little more together in standard tuning. Now when you drop down to D, all of a sudden your notes kind of open up and give you this sort of like a loud, not loud, but more expansive type of sound, which I love. So instead of only playing like those type of sounds that you've been accustomed to hear with drop D, you could have some killer metal riffs with single notes with a drop D. All right, so back to the example. This is the beginning. Right, this is very, US power metal 80s type of, right? You heard this type of stuff in Metallica and King Diamond records and all that. So here we go. Check this out. Let me pick this up. Right. So right here you have a 2 chords right here. I'm just going to call it. I call it F sharp to G, even though in real life they're not. But this is when I think of it. If I was going to speak with another guitarist. Right, so you have this tail end of the riff. Right, so you want this riff to sort of have this cool succession of notes and a nice flow to it. The second part of this riff, the beginning is very similar. Right, these notes kind of move up now. And then you have, which is similar to what we did here, but at the end, I slide this B to B flat, and I do an interesting thing here. Check this out. So you have this nice mid-rangey kind of thing when you use your pick the right way, and you have this kind of and this type of sound happens when you play a B flat chord and I pull off my first finger to the A string and I let that ring with the F note on the D string. So you have this kind of, right? So when you use the right amount of pick and you get a nice harmonic in there and you do that riff, so it's something that's very easy to do, but it's kind of hard to figure out when you're listening to it on the record. So that's number one. And another interesting thing about this lick is the type of picking I do. A lot of the picking on the bottom string is alternate, but a lot of times when I play the notes on a fifth string, there's a little bit of an economy motion to it, which basically allows the lick, in my idea, to kind of flow more naturally and smoothly. Check this out. Right? So as you can see, when I did this little part, which is this little riff happens in the second part of the lick, it's basically up, up, down. Right? So it's something that basically will over time happen naturally, but just think of it when you practice this lick. When I do this turnaround riff here, that's all alternate. Okay? So for the second part of the riff, I do economy picking, and I finish it off with a regular alternate picking for the chords. All right, for the second example, we got a cool melody that's on the A string and bounces off the constant motion on the D string. And the interesting part about this lick is that the first part of it is in the major key and the second part of it is in the minor key. So it's got a cool little contrast. Check this out. Okay, so this guitar example is based on the rhythmic syncopation known as 3-on-4s. It's the groups of 3 notes that are played in a bar of 4/4, right? Melodically, this is very interesting because you have these, the beginning is in the major type of sound. And interestingly enough, it's not distorted when Maiden plays, but basically this kind of reminded me of like one of the Steve Harris bass intros to a Maiden song. He does a lot of cool major and minor switches. You know, he's got all these bass interludes before an epic Maiden song, and as you can tell, this example has this sort of like a guitar riff that's going to blow up. It kind of creeps up on you, and that's cool because you want to paint with your guitar riffs, right? You just don't want to be all aggressive or just all nice. So, and the way I play this guitar riff is again the groups of 3, and I'll show you a little bit about the picking later, but let me show this to you slowly first. So I pretty much mute the bottom 2 strings to have, for lack of a better word, more like a creepy type of sound, right? But for the next part of the riff, I open it up. Right? So the riff kind of starts to breathe. and then I end it with an octave slide, which gives you kind of like a little different of a sound. And the last four hits are 16 notes on a, which I would call like a D9 chord. Is that chord, remember, we had from like a progressive metal lesson when Dream Theater and Fates Warning like to use this. Okay, let's wrap this up, and I'm going to show you 3 different ways to play a chromatically ascending riff. Check this out. Okay, so this riff is basically on 2 strings. I'm moving up the melody 1 note at a time while pedaling off the 4th D string. And you might have heard interesting band that uses this type of movement a lot is Megadeth. So check some of that stuff out too. Okay, so now I have expanded to 3 strings. The melody and the bass note stays exactly the same as what I just played previously, except I add this D note, the same note throughout all the examples. So now you have like a 3-note chord in some ways with a constant D on top. It's very interesting. Right, so you have, it's actually, this kind of opens up now that the riff is starting to sound a little more Queensryche versus Megadeth. Okay, so this time around, I'm using the 4 strings, moving the chromatic line up, keeping the D note right on the top on the 2nd string, but my bounce off the bass note is my open D string, right? So now this riff really sounds thick and opens up. Right, so you have the nice D with the sort of like great sounding chords on top, right? So this is the way of playing a really nice chromatic line in different ways. See you next time.